Hello and welcome everybody for a webinar on general neurology. My dear students, today's topic is on nervous system. We call it as study of nervous system. Neurology is a very big entity actually, but we are going to study general part of neurology. So I have named today's topic as neurology, but actually we will be studying general outline of nervous system as far as human anatomy of nervous system is concerned, that we will study today. So let us begin with today's new topic, and that is general neurology, and I hope it will get finished within a span of 2 to 3 episodes. Let us start with today's topic now. I welcome you all once again. General neurology. Okay, actually neurology is a branch of medicine related to the study of nervous system and the diseases and their treatment. So that is neurology. So we have got neurologists in the medical field who practice this separate discipline called as neurology. So they are neurologists. So we are not going to deal with the medical part of neurology. We are going to call general neurology. Okay, so see here, study of nervous system. As you all know that we are studying anatomy of human beings, so we will be studying only the anatomical aspect of nervous system. And I think that this has been taught to you during your junior college days. At least outline you must be knowing, what is made up of nervous system, what parts constitute nervous system, that you must be knowing right now, like brain, spinal cord and nerves. Similar things we are going to study, but little in a deeper sense. Okay, so nervous system is the chief controlling and coordinating system of the body, or you can say chief is also called highest. Nervous system is the highest controlling and coordinating system of the body. So there is nobody above that. Above that, and then it comes your mind. But it is for as far as the anatomy and physiology is concerned, we call this as the highest controlling and coordinating system of the body. Don't forget these two words: controlling and coordinating system of the body. It controls and regulates all the activities of the body. Okay, whether voluntary or involuntary, or whether they are as per your will or without your will, and adjust the individual, that means organism, that means human being, to the given surroundings, both external as well as internal environment. So internal environment is automatically done, external environment done through the voluntary activities. So this is the full the definition of nervous system, you can say. The last line is very important because see, it controls and regulates all the activities of the body, whether voluntary or involuntary, and adjusts the individual to the given surroundings. Okay, we are using this nervous system right now. I am imparting this education to you, and you are conceiving this knowledge, and for that you require a very alert nervous system. Otherwise this is not easy to explain, rather either explain or to receive the knowledge. This is based on the special properties of sensitivity, conductivity and responsiveness of the nervous system. So this part, what we call, regulates all the activities of the body with the help of these properties, because sensitivity, conductivity and responsiveness of the nervous system will help you to control and regulate all the activities of the body. Likewise, okay. Yes. Now, what are the parts of nervous system? Broadly, the parts of nervous system are divided into two parts: central and peripheral. So what is there in the center and what is there in the periphery? Central nervous is broadly divided into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, which are continuous with each other. They are not separate. They are the continuous with each other. But from central nervous system itself, the peripheral nervous system begins. Okay, and there are further subdivisions of each part of these two divisions of central nervous system. We'll see all of them one by one. Okay, a central nervous system, in short form is called as CNS, has got a brain and spinal cord. Brain is also called as encephalon. This is actually, encephalon is a scientific name, but it has got a very simple meaning. En means inside, cephalo means head. Whatever is present inside the head is called as brain. So that's how it is. But we don't use brain commonly in a scientific language, because tomorrow if there is a swelling of the brain, we call encephalitis. We don't call brainitis. So that is why you remember this word. Brain is called as encephalon, which occupies the cranial cavity. Cranial cavity means cavity of the head, and contains higher governing centers. So it has got different higher governing centers inside it, different sulci, gyri areas which are present on the cerebrum and other parts of the brains also. We'll come to the study of brain later on. I just want to give you the general outline, general anatomical outline of central nervous system today. And the next part of the central nervous system is spinal cord. Spinal cord begins from medulla oblongata, spinal medulla, which occupies upper 2/3 of the vertebral canal. So lower 1/3, it doesn't have spinal cord, because spinal cord ends at the level of upper 2/3 of the vertebral canal. Vertebral canal is present in the vertebral column, and it contains many reflex centers. Okay, so governing centers are present in the brain, reflex centers are present in the spinal cord. So brain and spinal cord, which are in the midline, because they are in the central axis, so it is called as a central nervous system. Here you can see the brain, and here you can see this whole brain, cerebrum, cerebellum, midbrain, and so on. And here you can see the medulla oblongata will continue as a spinal cord. It will go in your vertebral column. You can see this is a spinal cord going in a vertebral column up to upper 2/3. Okay, lower 1/3, it doesn't passes all throughout its vertebral column. You can see it is ending here, upper 2/3, brain and spinal cord. These are the two parts of central nervous system. So I'm telling you in a very easy language. Somehow if you take it out of the body, it looks like this: brain and spinal cord. Central nervous system contains brain and spinal cords. Very easy. I'm repeating again and again. Here also you see the central nervous system, which is present in the cranial cavity, is a brain, and you can see the spinal cord, which is present in the vertebral column in the vertebral canal. Okay. Well, now what is the peripheral nervous system? Peripheral nervous system is called in short PNS. Now it is divided into two components. One is cerebrospinal nervous system. So CSNS you can make it. And autonomic nervous system is called as ANS. Autonomic comes from automatic, and cerebrospinal nervous system is for the somatic, for the body, and autonomic nervous system is for the viscera, involuntary and voluntary. So there are two types of nerves, and those all nerves, they constitute peripheral nervous system. So altogether there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. This all 12 plus 31, 43, they are all part of peripheral nervous system, but they are divided. Some are autonomic. So in autonomic, we get 4 plus 3, 7 as parasympathetic, and 14 sympathetic. 14 plus 7, altogether 21. So from 43, 21 are autonomic nervous system. So these are all nerves. We are going to study them in detail later on when the autonomic nervous system comes. Now let us talk about cerebrospinal nervous system. The cerebrospinal nervous system is a part of peripheral system and is the somatic component of the peripheral nervous system. Somatic means for the body, for the involuntary functions, which includes 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. It innervates the somatic structures of head, neck, body, and the limb, body wall and the limbs, and mediates somatic sensory and motor functions. Somatic means related to the body, and all voluntary functions. Okay. Remember this 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Now, what is autonomic nervous system? Autonomic system is the visceral component of peripheral nervous system. So that was somatic and this is visceral. It's called autonomic because it has got autonomy. That means involuntary functions. It includes the visceral or splanchnic nerves that are connected to the central nervous system through the somatic nerves. They go through the somatic nerves itself, but they are a separate component. And it innervates the viscera, glands, blood vessels, non-striated muscles, means smooth muscles, okay, cardiac muscle, and mediates the visceral functions. So, visceral functions are involuntary. Your heartbeat, your GIT functions, all the glands, salivary glands, so many glands are there, endocrine glands. They function automatically or involuntarily. For that, there is a separate component. And for that purpose, those nerves which are taken from those 43 itself, and some are chosen for this purpose. Like out of 12 cranial nerves, 4 are selected for autonomic nervous system. Out of sacral, 3 are selected. And out of remaining spinal nerves, all 12 thoracics and first 2 lumbar nerves are selected for autonomic nervous system. So here you can see the central nervous system plus peripheral nervous system. All the nerves from the brain, and nerves of the brain are not seen from behind because they go forward. And you can see the brain, the spinal nerves from the spinal cord. So many of them, 31 pairs, okay. Here you can see the peripheral nervous system total. All this green wiring is called as peripheral nervous system. It consists cranial, spinal, both, somatic and autonomic, everything is there in that. If you see in this image, you can see the central and peripheral nervous system shown here separately. CNS and brain, spinal, or you can say CNS is also called as brain, spinal cord, you can see here, and the PNS means motor and sensory nerves, you can see here. You can see the autonomic nervous system, it is going for the purpose of involuntary functions. Some of the cranial nerves have come here, and some, all 12 thoracic and first 2 lumbar, plus even sacral 3, S2, S3, S4, they are coming for only purpose of autonomic nervous system. This was all about division of, nervous system and the peripheral nervous system to 2 parts, central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. But if we talk about all these spinal nerves, and at the time of study of osteology, I told you that there are 33 separate vertebrae. But if you take fused vertebrae, there are 26. But if you take the total number of vertebrae, 33, the total number of spinal nerves are 31. Okay, because there is only one coccygeal in place of all 4. There are 8 cervical, means 1 extra. There are 7 cervical vertebrae, but there are 8 cervical nerves because 1 comes above the first, and plus C8 comes below the 7. And for coccygeal, there are 4 vertebrae, but only 1 coccygeal nerve is given out. Whereas the sacrum is fused, but sacrum gives 5 sacral nerves. So lumbar gives 5, thoracic gives 12. So it corresponds with the number of vertebrae. The problem is, or the difference is, only in the cervical region and in the coccygeal region. So that is why, even though there are 33 vertebrae, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. And you can see all those C1 to C8 cervical spinal nerves, T1 to T12 thoracic spinal nerves, L1 to L5 lumbar spinal nerves, S1 to S5 sacral spinal nerves, and coccygeal is called as CO1. So altogether 31 pairs on this side, on that side. Same thing is shown here. You can calculate again. C1 to C8, T1 to T12, L1 to L5, S1 to S5, and coccygeal is gone down. Thus, the cerebrospinal and autonomic nervous systems differ from each other in their efferent pathways. Okay, afferent and efferent, you know that, ascending and descending. So it is in the descending. The somatic efferent pathway is made up of only one neuron, which passes directly to the effector organs. So the descending, okay, that is skeletal muscles. So here there is a difference between somatic and autonomic nervous system. However, the autonomic efferent pathway is made up of 2 neurons, okay, preganglionic and postganglionic, with an intervening ganglion. So ganglion is present here for the relay of the preganglionic fibers, and the effector organs are supplied by the postganglionic fiber. This provision is there for the autonomic nervous system. So this is a difference, actual difference between structure of somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Okay, because that is voluntary and this is involuntary. Thus, presence of a relay ganglion in the efferent pathway is a feature of autonomic nervous system. So, relay ganglion is present in the autonomic nervous system, but it is not present in the somatic nervous system. This big difference you have to keep in mind always. Now, through this black and white image, I am trying to show you what is CNS. CNS is constituting of brain and spinal cord. You can see, and in PNS you have cranial nerves 12%, spinal nerve 13 pairs, but it is having autonomic ganglion here, whereas the spinal nerves do not have ganglion. They are going directly, whereas there is a ganglion in the autonomic nervous system as far as the efferent neuron is concerned. Okay, this is about components of CNS, PNS, and so on. In this image, you can see the central nervous system, which is shown in a yellow color, cerebrum and other parts of the brain. So you can say brain and the spinal cord here. And here you can see the peripheral nervous system, which is shown in a red color. And autonomic nervous system is shown in two colors, green and purple, because autonomic nervous system is further divided into parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. We are going to study separately autonomic nervous system in the last part of study of general neurology. But this diagram is quite helpful to you to understand the division of whole nervous system as such. Well, here is image showing you the two components of autonomic nervous system now, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is coming from thoracolumbar flow, whereas parasympathetic is coming from craniosacral flow. So cranial 4 nerves and sacral 3, 7. 7 nerves are for parasympathetic and 12 thoracic and first 2, that means 14 nerves are for sympathetic. So sympathetic function and parasympathetic is almost opposite to each other. So for example, say dilatation of the pupil is for sympathetic and contraction of pupil is for parasympathetic. In case of heart, acceleration of heartbeat is a function of sympathetic nervous system, whereas slowing down of the heartbeat is a function of parasympathetic nervous system. So for heart, the vagus nerve is a parasympathetic nerve and it slows down the heartbeat, whereas the sympathetic chain gives because sympathetic chain is formed by this 14 nerves because they are in a line. Okay, that is why they form a sympathetic chain, and this sympathetic chain gives nerves to heart, lungs, like from one side, and you can see it accelerates. I'm giving you one small example. It goes with every organ. See, if it lungs, then you can go somewhere, you can like liver, you can go for adrenal gland, and finally for the urinary bladder, sexual organs also. Same thing again, it is repeated here. Central nervous system you can see in the center, and out of peripheral nervous system only autonomic nervous system is taken in this image, where you can see the sympathetic division here, you can see the parasympathetic division. Same sympathetic chain is shown here, which is giving branches to the viscera, and here you can see the 4 cranial nerves and 3 sacral nerves. They are making a parasympathetic flow, which is called as craniosacral flow, whereas sympathetic flow is called sympathetic nervous system consists of thoracolumbar flow. Thoracolumbar flow because they are made up of thoracic and lumbar nerves. Yes. Well, now we will go to some other parts of central nervous system, or the what you call nervous system as such, like cell types of nervous system. Now, what are the different cells present in the nervous system? Like what we saw in the myology, myocyte, different myocytes we saw. In osteology, we saw different osteocytes. So what you are going to get here in nervous system? The nervous tissue is composed of 2 distinct type of cells. One is excitable types of cells and other is non-excitable. Okay, the excitable cells are the nerve cells and they are the neurons. Now you have studied neurons. They are very important because they are the real, uh, part of nervous system for the purpose of functions, its objective functions. And the non-excitable cells constitute the neuroglia or glia and ependymma in the central nervous system and Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system. So neuroglia and ependymma are present in the CNS and Schwann cells are present in the PNS. These both are called as neuroglia or glial cells also. So what comes first is neuron. And I think you have studied neuron, but we'll try to have glimpses of this part of syllabus today. Once again, each nerve cell or neuron has these following structures. Remember, neuron is also called as nerve cell, and it is also called as neurocyte. Okay, so neurocyte, nerve cell, and neuron. It is one and the same. It has got a cell body, or called as soma, or it is also called a perikaryon. During the time of eukaryotes and prokaryotes, we have studied this language of cytology. So you apply that knowledge here. So a cell body or soma has a central nucleus and nissel granules in its cytoplasm. This is the characteristic of the cell body of neurocyte or neuron. And cell processes called neurites, which are of two types. They are present all around the soma. Many short apparent processes which are freely branching and very close are called as dendrites, and a single long efferent process which may give off occasional branches, also collaterals, and is of union diameter is called an axon. So dendrites and axons, they come from the soma. And this is a basic, I think it is taught to you earlier in your school or college days. The terminal branches of the axon are called axon terminals or telodendria. The cell bodies, somata of the neurons, form gray matter and nuclei in the central nervous system and ganglia in the PNS. So this soma forms gray matter and nuclei in the central nervous system and ganglia in the peripheral nervous system. The cell processes axons form tracts in the central nervous system because there are ascending and descending tracts which are required for the taking the information up and down, afferent and efferent, and nerves in the peripheral nervous system. The cell processes forms tracts in the central nervous system, that means in the brain and spinal cord, whereas they form nerves in the peripheral nervous system. So all those 43 nerves which we mentioned, 31 plus 12, 43. Here you can see a black and white diagram of neuron, typical neuron. You can see a cell body or soma, which is having a nucleus centrally placed, and these are the nissel granules. And you can see all on the sides, it has got dendrites, but at one side, it has got a long axon, and this axon has got a myelin sheath, which is made up of Schwann cells. So Schwann cells are neuroglia because from here onwards, this will take part in the formation of either what you call tract or nerves. Okay, and here is the axon terminal. And these neurons are of different types. They may be multipolar or bipolar. Multi means many dendrites. Bi means only two. Pseudopolar or unipolar. Okay. Well, here you can see a color diagram of a neuron, and you can see the neuron, what you call axon of one neuron is getting synapsed. Okay, with the body of other neuron. So we have to understand synapse also because it's very important in central nervous system or nervous system. And other parts, dendrites, cell body, nucleus, nissel granules, myelin sheath and Schwann cells. Okay, you can see in this diagram. So diagram is quite easy to understand. Here you can see a black and white picture of a neuron. One is getting anastomosed with other neuron, and you can see another colored picture of a neuron showing you the parts of neuron or a neurocyte. Here you can see neuron parts, how they are placed in CNS and PNS. So inside the CNS means brain and spinal cord, you will have the bodies, whereas in the PNS means the nerves and tract, you will have these axons which are covered by Schwann cells, and here inside you will have neuroglial cells are the supporting cells for the central nervous system. Now, what are the types of neurons? We have already seen them in earlier images. You can see the neurons can be classified in several ways. So according to the number of their processes, that means neurites, they may be unipolar. And for example, mesencephalic nucleus is a unipolar example. Pseudo-unipolar sensory ganglia are pseudo-unipolar. Bipolar, the spiral and vestibular ganglia are bipolar. And multipolar means the most common type of neurons present in your body. So multipolar are abundant. Okay. According to the length of axon, the neurons are further classified as Golgi type 1 neurons and Golgi type 2 neurons. Golgi type 1 neuron has a long axon and Golgi type 2 neuron has a short axon or no axon. So it's a simple, explanation here because they are present in such pattern in your nervous system. So we are counting all of them. Here you can see the different neurons. You can see the multipolar neurons here, cell body, and we are dendrites, so many of them. Motor neuron you can see and sensory neuron. There is a big difference between motor neuron and sensory neuron because of their structural functions. Motor neuron is for motor functions, sensory neuron sensor functions. Okay, and basic neuron picture is shown here. Cell body, nucleus, axon. Well, now what is synapse? Okay, neurons form long chains along which the impulses are conducted in different directions. Now, each junction between the neuron is called a synapse. So, the one neuron meeting with other neuron has a contact. The place of contact is called as a synapse. Synapse or synapse. Here you can see a synapse. There is a contact here. Lot of neuro chemicals are exchanged at this place. It's very important issue for physiology is quite important. Short note is asked on synapse. Here you can see the neurotransmitters are released into the synapse. Neurotransmitter attached to the receptor. Here you can see one axon is meeting with the dendrite of other neuron. So synapse has formed and neurotransmitters stored in the vesicle. So these axons get enlarged at the end. It's called a vesicle where neurotransmitters are stored. Enzymes that destroys neurotransmitter are present. Is shown here. So neurotransmission takes place at the point of synapse. At least this small thing you remember. It is important to know that the contact between the neurons is by contiguity and not by continuity. So the actual contact is it is not attached like this. So we can say that it is a continuous. So it is not a continuous, it is a contiguity. Okay. You have seen it. It is a contiguity. They are not totally fused. Okay, so they are not continuity. Contiguity is this. Well, the impulses are transmitted across the synapse by specific neurotransmitters. Now, neurotransmitters are the chemicals. Neurochemicals like acetylcholine, catecholamines like noradrenaline and dopamine, serotonin, histamine, glycine, and certain other polypeptides. So these are all polypeptides. You can remember this neurotransmitter. These are very important things because these are all required for transmission of impulses. The most common type of synapse are axodendritic. So axon of one neuron gets synapsed with dendrite of other neurons. So it's called as axodendritic. Or somatosomatic means two bodies of neurons, they meet together by contiguity. So that is called as somatosomatic. Or somatodendritic. Soma means body of one and dendrite of other. Or serial in nature. So in synaptic glomeruli groups of axons make contact with the dendrites of one or more neuron for complex interactions. And functionally, the synapse may either be inhibitory or excitatory for the purpose of inhibition or for the purpose of excitation. Here you can see synapse. Okay, here is synapse. Now this is sending neuron, action potential, and this is a receiving neuron. And here you can see neurotransmission. And I showed you another picture. Here is another example of synapse. You can see the synapse. This is synapse, then exodendritic synapse. Okay. Now we have finished the study of neurons. So I told you there are two types of cells in the nervous system. The one is neurons or neurocytes or nerve cell. Other cells are called as neuroglia or glial cells. The non-excitable supporting cells. These are non-excitable because excitable is neuron. These are non-excitable supporting cells. They are supporting. The non-excitable supporting cells of the nervous system form a major component of the nervous system. Okay, and these include, so many of them are there. Neuroglial cells, one, which are found in the parenchyma of brain and spinal cord. Then ependymal cells, they are present as lining the internal cavities of the brain. Then capsular or satellite cells, which are surrounding the neurons of the sensory and autonomic ganglia. Schwann cells, they are forming seats of axons of peripheral nerves, and several other types of supporting cells encircling the motor and sensory nerve terminals and supporting the sensory epithelia. Okay, so these are the different types of neuroglia, and here you can see image of neuroglial cells. Neuroglia, you can see astrocytes, oligodendrocytes. Okay, astrocyte is here, oligodendrocyte is here, microglia is here, ependymal cells are shown here, and the Schwann cells are shown here on the myelin sheath of nerve. Okay, you can see the neurofibrils, neurilemma, axon upper nerve here. So this is all about, I think, today's part of study as far as the general neurology is concerned, where we have to understand the anatomical aspects of central nervous system, and this is more basic. Is without knowing this, there is no question in going into further studies of neuroanatomy, which I'm going to start very soon. So after this neurology, general neurology, I will be finishing the most of the part of the general anatomy, and now we have to move towards the regional anatomy. And in regional anatomy, I'll first choose to go to head, face, neck, brain. So in that, after the central nervous system, we are going to the study of skull and study of brain, that is neuroanatomy. And that is why let us end today's episode here and come back tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I'll inform you for next episode of general neurology. And let's have a break here and come back tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I'll tell you, because tomorrow I don't think that I will be available. Most probably I may not be available, but some other day we'll take neurology episode 2. And with this, I thank you. Thanks a lot for patiently listening to me.